My name's Allie, and I am inviting you today for a basic breath meditation. And this is intended to be for people who may not have tried meditation before or who have heard about it, but are not quite sure if it's for them. And it's a brief introduction to the benefits of the basic breath in mindfulness with some helpful guides on how to go about this, as well as a couple of breath strategies that are from a mindfulness perspective. And rather than talking about it, we're going to try actually experiencing it today. So the reason for doing a mindfulness practice of the breath is because sometimes during times of stress or increased activity, time pressures, and or times where there's been a lot of problems to solve, our basic physiology changes in order to cope. So we move a bit faster, we breathe a bit faster, and we find that we're trying to cram a lot into our minds sometimes. And then we might notice that our attention is hard to hold onto some ordinary objects of attention. And fortunately, mindfulness is an effective way to deal with this. Mindfulness being, if we want to define it here, the ability to pay careful attention to what you're thinking, feeling, and sensing in the present moment, without judging or evaluating or criticizing those thoughts and feelings as either good or bad. There are many studies that show that mindfulness is linked to improved health and reduced anxiety even during stressful times. So, how do we cultivate this mindfulness, this focused attention? Quite simply, the breath is always there for us as an object of our attention. So a simple practice called mindful breathing allows us to focus on something that's already here, our breath, and start to pay attention to it, practicing that attitude of not judging the breath or the body or the mind in any particular way, but letting go of those judgments and paying more attention to the sensation of breathing. It sounds easy, but it's not. And this is actually a very important skill, which is very transferable in helping us to deal with daily stress, with daily distractions that might take our mind away, and even to cool down our temper when it flares, or to sharpen our skills of concentration. So the most basic way to start to do mindful breathing is to simply focus your attention on the breath, the inhale and the exhale. And you may do this while sitting, lying down, or standing. Your eyes may be open or closed, but you may find it easier to maintain your focus if you close your eyes. Sometimes I find it easier if I'm quite distracted to focus on an object in the room, which isn't changing, like a cup or a plant. It can help to set aside a designated time to do this exercise. And it also helps to practice it when you are feeling particularly stressed or anxious, as well as doing it when you're not. So experts do believe that a regular practice of mindful awareness and mindful breathing can make it easier to do it when times are more difficult. And as you do this, you are most likely to find that your mind wanders and is distracted by body or mind, by sensations, interesting thoughts, worrying about not forgetting something. It's all very normal. Just notice when that happens that your mind has been hijacked, if you like, or your attention has been stolen, and then gently bring your attention back to the breath. In fact, that noticing and bringing back and then refocusing on the breath is an essential part of the meditation. As you observe your inhale and your exhale and notice what parts of your body move as you do this, you're already starting to become curious about your body and your breath. There are a couple of things to keep in mind as you start your mindful practice. So if you are sitting today, I would invite you to sit up quite straight, but relaxed. To have both of your feet on the floor and your hands gently resting on your lap. And perhaps, as mentioned before, you might like to close your eyes if this is comfortable, or keep them slightly open and have a soft gaze or a gaze on something that is quite pleasant or neutral for you. Allow your body to relax. Allow yourself to sink into the seat a little more and your feet into the ground. And you may like to give yourself that sweet permission to let go of commitments and the to-do list for the next few moments and allow yourself to be present for this time. Some people even like to imagine that their commitments have all flown into a folder and the folder is closed for now. And when your thoughts wander, you might like to notice the wandering and then practice that return, that bicep curl almost of the going out and the coming back, bringing your attention back into the meditation. In fact, by noticing and bringing it back, you are doing the sort of heavy lifting of mindful practice. And now inviting your body to relax, but keeping your mind alert to the instructions, allowing your breath to be natural, breathing through the nose. And at any time, if this meditation does become difficult for you, please feel free to do what you need to do for your own self-care. You may like to open your eyes for a moment, pause the meditation, take some breaths of a different pace, or do some stretches, whatever you like. You know what's best for you. And as we begin, remember, we're letting go of expectation or judgment, and we're just having an observation of this breath that is always here, perhaps noticing it in an entirely different way. Okay. So as you notice that breath and start to become curious about it, start to notice when it turns from the inhale to the exhale. You don't need to do anything to it. Just allow it to be exactly as it is and notice. You may like to notice where you feel your breath in your body. Maybe you notice it first in your abdomen or your throat. You may be more aware of it in your nostrils or the rise and fall of your rib cage. See if you can feel the sensations of each single breath. So when one breath ends, there we have the next breath beginning. And as you do this, you might notice that your mind may start to wander or thinking about other things. If this happens, it's not a problem. It's very natural. Just notice that your mind has wandered. Some people like to say wandering in their mind as they notice it, or thinking, and gently redirect your attention right back to the breathing, like the bicep curl of the brain away and then back towards. This is all part of the practice of meditation. So for the next several minutes, you may like to continue to notice your breath in the quiet. Notice the return as the breath swings around from inhalation to exhalation. While I'm quiet, you may notice your mind taking you on some interesting journeys. Just notice when it does that and bring it back with that bicep curl of the brain back to the breath. Breathing. Noticing. And shortly preparing to slowly end this meditation of the breath. Somewhat like having been somewhere else and then returning to the room. Please do allow yourself some arrival time, allowing some deeper, slower breaths if you like. Or you may choose to just notice your natural breath. You may begin to bring your awareness back into the room, even with your eyes still down or closed. Noticing the sounds of the room, the temperature of the room, perhaps the seat or the cushion. Noticing your feet. And perhaps you'd like to notice your neck on your head and give it a little side to side motion if you've been sitting quite still. And inviting other mindful movements into the body, perhaps moving your feet a little, feeling the contact as the feet shift in their distribution of weight across the floor. Moving fingers, stretching perhaps across the palm of the hand. And you might like to stand if you've been sitting, or sit if you've been standing. Rolling your shoulders, whatever feels good for you. And when you're ready, you may like to blink a few times to adjust to the light in your room. And slowly allow the light to come back into your eyes. And just welcoming you back to the room and the group and the others who are here with you. Knowing we've all been away a little in this interior world. And I invite you to check in with yourselves now. What is your state of being? Maybe notice how you're feeling. You might like to take a moment to reflect quietly on how this practice was for you or how it landed in you. And there is an individual response almost every time within each person and between people. One practice may be helpful one day and maybe not the next. If this was your first mindful breathing, see if you can just notice how it's sat in your body, what you're noticing now, knowing there is absolutely no right or wrong to this. And there's nothing too small to mention if you'd like to bring this up with the group. And finally, just noticing if your mind had been busy during that time. How did you react to that? Were you able to pay attention again to the breath? Did you find the thoughts took you away? Just noticing whatever it was like for you. And you know, you can do this mindful breathing anytime during the day or the night. It doesn't have to only be a formal practice. Even taking 3 mindful breaths before checking your email or leaving your car to get into the house at the end of your workday is a wonderful way to start to integrate this sense of being with yourself in a supported way with your breath into your everyday life. Thank you. May you go well.